Get the hell out of my garden.
Hello, welcome to episode 92 of Chet and John's Reassuringly Finite Gaming Playlist. My name's John Denton, with me as always Chet Roivas.
Snotfest.
You might be able to tell already, we're both ill. We actually saw each other on the weekend for the first time in quite a while, and now we're both ill, so that just suggests that we shouldn't ever see each other in real life. But yeah, you know the deal. It's two top 10 lists. We're both way too ill to even explain it. If you can't work it out, it's just too stupid to sort it out. Right, Chet, 10.
Okay, all right, my number 10 is a game called Air Ace Speed on the Nintendo 3DS. I'd never heard of it. I turned my 3DS on the other day because they've now they've implemented Miiverse onto it. So you can basically link your Wii U to your 3DS. It's one of the only demos that I hadn't played, and it sounded great. It's a racing game where you fly this spacecraft down a load of tunnels, and there's branching paths. It's all about boosting for as long as you can and setting high, fast lap times. It's really, really fast. There's tight, the controls are tight. It's all about you basically the only buttons you have are nitrous and a couple of barrel roll commands. It reminded me of Forsaken, the N64 game, just because it's set in a similar sort of, although it's not as dark.
I never played Forsaken.
It was surprisingly good, actually, in multiplayer. But yeah, it's hard, challenging, and it's cheap. I think it's like £5, but try the trial. Air Ace Speed on 3DS.
That actually sounds like my cup of char.
Yeah, it's good. It's like Wipeout in tubes and hard.
3D, 2D, side on?
The 3D looked pretty good. Yeah,
so it's going into the screen, is it?
Yeah.
Right,
a very impressive trial, really.
That sounds all right. That does sound all right. Okay, my number 10 is Resogun. I've not played it anywhere near as much this week. I've just been learning some new tactics and some of the secrets. It's, we said that it's not a game that explains itself very well, but I kind of dig that about it to a point because I'm still learning lots of new different things about it and new ways of keeping your score up and increasing your score. Stuff like keeping multiple humans out of their boxes on the ground and then putting them in quickly one after another ranks up your score faster and things like that. The importance of the overdrive. I didn't even realise that the green dots, I thought they were just points, but they actually fill up your overdrive bar. Probably people worked that out, but I didn't. I'd already managed to get nearly 30 million without working that out. I thought no one was going to challenge my score, but Martin Gaston from GameSpot managed to smash it by about 20 million, I noticed yesterday. So it's game on. I was hoping someone would actually take up the challenge and have a ruck with me. If you're out there and you're playing Resogun and you're getting good scores, drop me a message on Twitter and let's swap fucking PlayStation IDs or whatever. So I need some more people to ruck with.
Okay, I think I've played Resogun a little bit to show it off to people, but I still don't understand it. It's a game I play, and I feel like I'm looking at the bolts holding it together because I've played too many shooters, and it just... I look at it like, I don't know, it doesn't engage me, but I'll play it some more over Christmas and, see what happens.
Yeah, it'll either grab you or it won't, I think.
Yeah, it's a strange case. Yeah, really. Okay, my number 9 is Forza Motorsport 5, a.k.a. Forza Motorsport 5. I've been playing quite a lot of it just because I'm comparing it to another game in my list. No surprises. And, yeah, obviously it's a better-looking game than Gran Turismo, but the trigger rumble, it is actually a meaningful gameplay device. It is a step forward, and I think that was one of the, aside from the visuals, that's where Gran Turismo suffered in comparison to it, because I really like that. I've started to, driving games this serious don't normally grab me at all, but the trigger rumble really does add something to the game.
So what does it actually feel like? Little jigglies in your fingers?
Tiny little, not quite electric shocks, but very, very, very small. It's very hard to explain. It's the rumble's actually tiny. It just kind of, I don't know. It kind of just buzzes on your finger, but it's such a small amount of space. I don't know how to fucking explain it. I'm too ill. But it truly felt like a meaningful development for driving games. The more I played them, sort of.
So I mean, you're really not the person to ask this question, but there's no one else here. What does it actually do? Is it to do with how you're accelerating, or are you accelerating too hard and it sort of lets you know with feedback? Or
no, it pretty much just tells you when you're about to lose traction. So when you're about to spin out, it's like, and I think I said this last week, it's all about muscle memory. I just started to let go of the triggers as soon as I felt that buzz, but it changed the game. So I think it's a great, and I think the game's good anyway. It's just a shame there's not so many tracks at the moment, but yeah, it's good. Very good.
Yeah, I'll play it one day. No, I won't. My number 9 is Contrast on the PlayStation 4. Now, I've got a feeling you played this as well. The reason I got a feeling is because there's got that What's New screen on PS4 where it tells you what everyone's doing, and it said you'd been playing it. So I assume it's on there somewhere.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it now? Do you want to talk about when it comes up on your list?
Yeah, no, sure. No, go ahead. Yeah, let's do it.
So, this is the other free PlayStation Plus game if you've got PS4 and have PlayStation Plus, with Resogun being the other one. And it's hard to explain exactly what it is because I'm not 100% sure what it is. But you play as a woman and you're with a little girl that's like kind of set in, I guess, the sort of 40s, in like sort of jazz clubs and some sort of approximation of...
I thought it was like turn of the century. I thought it was a little earlier than that.
Yeah, it might be. It might be. I don't know, because they didn't have music like that in the turn of the century, did they?
Well, I'm kind of thinking 20s. I was thinking just the Moulin Rouge sort of era.
Yeah, you're probably right. He's right. Anyway, it's set in the olden times, and the main gameplay conceit is that you can basically turn into a shadow when you lean up against the wall and then use those shadows as platform. The rest of the game is the normal third-person game. Fucking hell. But you can turn into a shadow. You've probably seen trailers of it and stuff. It's one of those games that looks amazing in trailers because this singular gameplay conceit is, one, really clever and is really, stylish. Everything about it is stylish, apart from the fact that it's fucking rough as toast. To quote, I think Dave Turner said that, rough as toast. It's a game that feels like it's hanging together a little bit. It feels like it needs another 6 months in the polishing can. Yeah. I don't know what the words that are coming out of my mouth even mean. The woman that you play, her jump, it reminds me of a jump from a really shitty PS1 game, just sort of straight up in the air. She sometimes just glitches up into the air, up a wall, things like that. And it's a shame because I'm kind of engaged in the rather unusual story of all the characters in the game just appear in silhouette, apart from the little girl, but that she can I don't know why. It'll probably explain it later, or it might not. I don't know. But the puzzles, which are things like you move a spotlight and that will cast a shadow over an item, or you can move those items in front of a spotlight, things like that, and then you can kind of build the platforms and then turn into the shadow and jump across it. Like that stuff's a really good idea, and that's clearly why this game has got made. And I think they've managed to wrap enough style around it to make it engaging. I can see myself getting through it because I kind of admire what they've done, but it definitely needed another 6 months.
Yeah, I think that's the main problem with it. If you have to be very forgiving, it was clearly done on a low budget, and I think it's too expensive, isn't it? About 11, 12 quid?
Yeah, I think it's the same as Resogun.
Yeah, I mean, I've played through. I didn't think it was that. I've done the first act, and I have unlocked all manner of trophies. I think there are 3 acts, but I did that in quite a short space of time.
Yeah, so I don't think it's a very long game.
Yeah, the concept is really neat. I love the concept though. When I first played it, I was playing on remote play on the Vita, and nice. the frame rate was terrible. She was really hard to control. I mean, the tiniest press of the thumbsticks and she'd basically run. It is zero precision in the controls. And then I tried it on PS4 and it was exactly the same.
I was going to say, frame rate's all over the shop.
Yeah, I like the feel of it. The sort of bulb-headed little girl reminded me of Alice Madness Returns, which is a game I really liked. And some of it's really quite menacing when those shadows are talking about how they're going to rough up the little girl's mum and stuff. And I was like, well, there is something sinister about it. But it's really hamstrung by its technical shortcomings. That's basically it. Some of them are really devastating. There's a bit where I shifted into a room and the camera just locked outside, so I couldn't see where I was. I couldn't unshift, and I couldn't move. I was stuck behind something. So stuff like that happens a fair old bit.
Yeah, I had a bit where it just started spinning slowly, and I couldn't work out where I was, and it was going through a wall and things.
Yeah. And then there's a bit where I destroyed loads of signs, and then I went back there, and the signs were just hanging there in midair. It's a mess technically, but. There is. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go back and try and smash through it because the puzzling is very clever and the idea is great. I am actually following the plot, which is something that I don't often do in games like this. But I'm looking forward to playing the rest of it. Although you have to be very forgiving, like I said, it's a fucking
definitely helps that it was a freebie, right?
It does. Yeah, it does. It really does.
All right, that was my 9, wasn't it? So
9. Okay. All right. Okay. My number 8 is Killer Instinct on the Xbox One.
Oh, I never got a chance to play it down in Brighton, did I? I actually fancied a game on that, but...
Okay, so that is a shame. I've played. It's probably my number 1. I've played it a hell of a lot. But it is... I was listening back to not last week's show or whenever I was editing the previous week's show, and I heard myself say, it's as good as any fighting game in the past 5 years. And I was like, well, that's ridiculous because that's comparing it directly to obviously Super Street Fighter 4. But having played it more, it stands up. It stands up to that comparison. I mean, I think the smartest thing that it does is the smartest thing that every fighting game's done in the wake of Super Street Fighter 4, including Mortal Kombat, is that it nicks as much from the old Killer Instinct as it does from Super Street Fighter 4. I think it's inarguable that Street Fighter 4 is as influential as Street Fighter 2 was back in the day. It's influenced every fighting game in its wake, totally. So I think that every fighting game, as I said, has kind of nicked from that as well. I basically had 6 unbroken wins online, and then I got annihilated by a guy. I mean, I barely touched him. And he was using Sadira, who's the new character, who I haven't seen so much of and I haven't really used. It completely screwed me. And when that happens in fighting games, you tend to adapt to that fighter's form. So you start trying to anticipate attacks of somebody of that caliber, which in turn makes you susceptible to the weaker fighters. Yeah. So you kind of have to find that balance really quickly. It's the essence of any great beat 'em up. And finding that balance is I was just like, this reminds me of when I was starting out on Street Fighter 4. It allows for this. That's such a broad spectrum where somebody can completely destroy you using attacks you've never seen, and then. But it's all about keeping a cool head and finding that balance. Like I said, it's absolutely incredible. It's a shame it's half a game at the moment, but I've been waiting 10 years for it, and fucking hell, half a game's lived up to it.
Yeah, like I said last time, it's a shame that it's just this shell, like you described it. But I do definitely want to play it. I'm going to end up with an Xbox One sooner rather than later, I'm sure. Even though, yeah, I just am. Right, my number 8 is actually Battlefield 4. It would have probably been higher. I wanted it to be higher, but the game wouldn't let me have it any higher. I had a couple of sessions. One, it was just... You probably don't get this as much as I do because you are considerably better in this genre and specifically Battlefield than I am. But occasionally, when I'm playing on my own, which all our lot that we play Battlefield with are on Xbox One, and have done, before we did this podcast and whatever. So I'm kind of playing on PS4, obviously, and our usual crew aren't on there. Anyway, so the first session I had, it was just one of those nightmare sessions. You jump on, you're trying to play as Assault, you're trying to play as Engineer, and it's just getting killed from behind, spawn, getting killed. You're going like 1 and 10 or something. That's the kind of thing that happens to me reasonably regularly in these types of games, and it's miserable. So I just jacked it in. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to play much Battlefield because, like I say, the old team, I'm not with them. I'm suffering, and the game's got problems. And the next day I decided I'll give it one more go. And Andy Hamilton on Twitter recently, the other day, Andy from Midnight Resistance, talked about having, that game on Battlefield where you forgive it all its sins. And I like that. And I actually started to have that game, just a game of 64-player Conquest on Siege of Shanghai, which is the one with the big skyscraper. Yeah. Was really enjoying it anyway. It was just one of those ones where I was first of all kind of finding my way around the map. I don't think I'd played it on Conquest before, so I still haven't played huge amounts of Battlefield 4. And yeah, just started to get into a real scrap around E, and the entire game I was just playing around E, like we were taking it, they were taking it back. Then one of our listeners, he goes by Faded MFC on Twitter and on PlayStation. I can't remember his real name, unfortunately, because my brain shut down. But he just appeared in my squad. And we started like backing each other up, and it was turning into like a real classic. It was like we were ahead and the other team were ahead. It got down to about 200 tickets each, and it was going to be a real touch and go thing. And then again, just booted to the fucking dashboard.
Yes.
So, this is like 18, 19 minutes into a game, and I just I can't face putting it on again as good as it was. And this is like, when Battlefield's this good, let me say, I can't face doing it again because I just can't face playing for that long again, losing all my progression, getting kicked out. It's miserable. But people who don't play Battlefield, and goodness knows, we've talked enough about this game on this podcast over the years, but if you don't play this game and you haven't ever played this game, you might not understand what it's actually like when it's like that, because it looks on the outside like Call of Duty, like a million other games you play, but it's actually not like that. It's actually like being in a fucking movie and the stories are happening emergently around you. And you get so involved that it is like nothing else, and it's ostensibly quite a daft game. A lot of crazy stuff is happening. It looks serious and it looks gritty, and I guess in some ways it is, but it's actually pretty fucking daft. It's just a load of crazy shit happening together, and it all seems to come together brilliantly when it does. To have that yanked out again, I don't know what to do. You know, this game's been out over 2 months. Is it going to get fixed?
Well, we hope. I mean, this is now the amazing thing is that this is now worse than Homefront. They fixed Homefront quicker than they're fixing this. Me and a couple of friends went on, not last night but 2 nights ago on Xbox One. We spent 25 minutes trying to get into a single game. We tried every game type, we tried every map, we tried everything, and it just kept saying failed to connect to the server, failed to connect to the server. I'm really losing my patience with it. It is quite shocking that some of the most... I mean, I know there's patches going up now, and the Xbox One... I think the PS4 one, because I downloaded it today, so that's up.
This happened to me post-patch.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. This happened to me last night. We were recording on a Thursday, so this was Wednesday night, and I actually... the first thing that happened is the patch downloaded, and then I played. So, yeah, it's still all 0 in every server as well.
What can you say? It's fucking broken. I've never. Has a game this fucked ever come out? I mean, I know previous Battlefields have been a bit sketchy. And
I mean, a game this high profile. I don't think so.
It is outrageous.
Yeah.
If this is on any critics' best of the year list, I'm sorry, I don't buy it. How is that possible?
Yeah.
How can you have even played it for that long on any format? Although PlayStation 4. It's faultless. Well, last week we were talking about people who love PS4 so much that they just go on the internet and say they blindly support it and say that there's nothing wrong with it. I put a video up earlier today, a sort of brief overview of our talk about Second Assault. Second Assault is not out on any platform apart from Xbox One. The first comment about 16 minutes after I put the video up, it's not broken on PS4, works fine. It's not out, mate. So, PlayStation 4 people are weird. But yeah, Battlefield is just, what are they going to do? I mean, because I know they're giving people their premium subscriptions back, but they also take back premium. I mean, it's a lot, to imagine asking for 40 quid.
Yeah.
And then get the content, because that's like a year's worth of work for them. But they've got to do something. They really have to, because this is 2 months with a fucked game. A fucked game.
Yeah. And it's agony to be kicked after 20 minutes. It's almost worse than it not working at all. Oh, well.
True that.
I'm bored even talking about it. It's annoying.
Yeah, I want to be playing it. That's all
exactly.
I want. And I can't. So yeah, brilliant. Okay, my number 7 is a game called Knack on the PlayStation 4.
Sweet.
I thought I read up a little bit about the game, and I heard you and Dave talk about it, and I was just like, you know what? All right. I didn't really know who Mark Cerny was, and then I read that he created Marble Madness, and I remember the NES version of Marble Madness. I don't know how many hours playing that, and each life, every time I pressed start, I lasted less than 20 seconds. So the amount of time, I mean, that's probably the ultimate hard game as far as I can remember. That's another level of difficulty. So I thought, okay, I can't really shit on it because it's difficult. You know, maybe I'll give Knack another try, and I did. And it's even shitter than I thought it was. The first thing that happened is that I walked past a checkpoint in which an enemy was in midair doing an attack. So every time I died, I'd go back there and whack, 99% of my health gone. Brilliant.
Great.
Nothing. Yeah, absolutely superb. The right thumbstick, the evasive maneuver, is bollocks, because every time you get into a fight, it says use it, but it's like a little sidestep. It's like a pigeon sidestep, and a lot of the time it doesn't work. I found out that the double jump is more effective.
The double jump is more effective, yeah. But you can combine that with the right stick, to be fair.
Can you?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure I've done that double jump and then evade, but then... The other thing is, when you evade out of the way and it goes into that slow-mo, look at how badass this is, you go straight into an unblockable move from another enemy if there's more than one enemy on the screen.
But you've got to manage the distance and what direction you're pressing it in.
I'm not buying that. The problem that I have with the difficulty of this is that it feels like it was a snap decision. It feels almost like it was a sly dig by the developers against the publishers. That's what it feels like. It's the equivalent of them shitting on the boss's desk. And I can only imagine, it being the end of a fraught relationship and the publisher coming into the...
But it's all Sony. It's in-house.
Yeah, but you don't know what something's wrong. Something's so wrong about something's so misjudged about this that everything's mistuned. How could they have got it this wrong? How could they have made this so absurdly difficult? And I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Because it's not satisfyingly difficult. That's what I was worried about. I thought, did I just get annoyed because I wasn't expecting it to be that difficult? But it's not. It's just it's not made to be this difficult. It's a massive, long game.
Yeah, it's way too long.
Yeah. That's why I kept envisaging that, like a publisher coming in and seeing them on the last day of production and being like, well, let's see this game then. Oh, fuck, it looks great. Well done. You've fulfilled your end of the bargain. Excellent. Kids are going to love this. No, they fuck... I hate Knack. I really do. It's awful. I mean, it's terrible. It doesn't work. It's fucking crap.
I'll talk about it in a little bit.
Oh, God.
My number 7 is Super Crate Box on PlayStation Vita, which it was made aware to me that it was free. And I'd always thought I always knew this game existed and seen screenshots and stuff, but for some reason, I always thought it was a puzzle game. It's just ignorant on my part. I should just done some reading or done 1 second of research and realised that it's not that at all. It is a very fast little, I guess, shoot-'em-up platform game, single screen, where you have to collect little boxes. Every time you do, you get a new weapon, and all these enemies are dropping out of the top, and you have to keep them off you. If they get all the way to the bottom, then they'll respawn at the top, all red and angry, and chase you, and then that's all the game is. It's got cool music, it's got cool weapons. It's made by Vlambeer, who made Ridiculous Fishing, and a few other things. It's got, I think it's called Nuclear Throne coming out. That looks good, and Lufthausers. And honestly, I was just sat there, and it's like I blinked and an hour had gone by, and I thought, oh my God, all I've done is played this pixel art single screen game and done nothing else. Because the second you die, and it's very hard, you can restart instantly and you're just back in it, so you're just in that constant loop of playing it. And I was like, this game has just been built out of stuff that I like. It's fucking daft, it's stupid, it involves blowing stuff up, it's really fast, it's got a high skill ceiling. I can get about, I think my high score in the time I played it got to about 18 crates, and it's like, I didn't think that was particularly great, but it was hard to get there. So I went on YouTube and just typed in like good run Super Crate Box. Yeah, someone's got over 5,000. I couldn't even compute how you could possibly do that. But yeah, what a freebie. I can't believe I never played it before, but I think it had always been on like iOS and things like that. I'm very glad that I played it on a machine with buttons and D-pad and whatnot.
Yeah, I downloaded it as well because I heard about it via Twitter also. Are there leaderboards on those
That's
games?
the only thing there's no leaderboards. It's a killer, so you're only competing against yourself.
That's a shame.
Yeah, but you'll love this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's on my Vita, so
Yeah.
I'll play it. I'll play it over Christmas, I'm sure. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, my number 6 is Contrast. We've done it. So, what's your 6?
My 6 is Killzone, Shadowfall. I only did the multiplayer, and it just didn't really do it for me. It didn't really do it for me. Again, I'm not very good at multiplayer shooters. I'm really not. And straight away in this one, I said to myself as it was loading up, it's like, I better not get shot in the back straight away. Bang, 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 shot in the back. And that just kept happening. I couldn't seem to get a grip on any of the weapons. Eventually, I started getting the hang of it a little bit more and started getting a few kills. It doesn't have the snapping auto-aim that Call of Duty has, does it? You have to be really properly accurate, which isn't very good for me. Good for some people, I get it, but less so for me. And we were playing the Warzone game type. I understand that's the one that cycles between different things all in the same match. So it'll cycle between a search and just like a headquarters mode and a domination and whatnot. It's a cool idea. I've always liked the idea of that. And I had like one game that was really good where I was holding out one area and I had my little shield up, which is your ability, and got a few kills. And then we jumped onto the next one. I was just getting absolutely smashed, and I thought, you know what, I don't have the inclination to play this really. It looks really nice. It moves nice and smooth. It wasn't as immediate and fast foody as Call of Duty. It obviously isn't Battlefield, and there's a game I'll talk about later in my list. But yeah, I was like, do you know what? I could spend a lot of time trying to get a tiny bit good at this, or just jack it in now. I will still finish a single player, I think, but yeah, I think I'm done on multi on Killzone.
That's a shame. You should have drop me a text and I'd have come on, because I want to play that with somebody, because honestly I was massively impressed. It is very different. It is an alternative, but it's not COD.
Yeah, I don't even think that anything that it did was bad. I thought it was clearly good, but there is a skill. The skill deficit between myself and you in this genre is significant. I think you can walk into. Well, I get the impression that you can walk into a game like this and start getting kills and having fun straight away. Whereas for me, it's just misery for hours and hours.
But it would make a difference if you were with people rather than randoms, I think.
Probably, but what I don't think you ever understood when we used to play Halo 2 years and years and years ago, that basically all I ever did was to get killed while you ran around killing everybody. And I just played as some sort of pathetic sidekick to your Master Chief murdering machine. But
okay.
Yeah. I'll talk about another game in a minute.
Okay. All right, my number 5 is Guacamelee on the PlayStation Vita.
Okay, that's higher for me, yeah.
Okay, I think it's still free. But should we wait then?
Yeah, we can do it now.
Yeah.
Or should we wait? Let's wait.
All right.
Okay, quick one then for me. It's Knack. Stuck it on today. I look after my boy one day a week. That makes it sound like my family's not together, which we are. It's just that's the way we do our work. Why I'm explaining that, and B, why am I doing such a bad job of explaining it? Anyway, everything's fine. And I thought, do you know what? My boy might like to watch Knack, and I could give him the old DualShock 3, and he can pretend that he's controlling it. Like you see people in pictures doing, people put pictures up, and they're like, and trick my kid. Yeah, he worked that out within seconds, so I was kind of happy about that. He moved the stick once, Knack didn't move, and he just put the controller down. It's like, good boy. Anyway, he did like Knack. He thought it was funny. He explained to me exactly what was going on at all times, and then he walked out of the room, went and played with his trains because it's fucking boring. I knew that not streaming this game and it would suffer, and I didn't stream it this time, and it did suffer. I got to about the end of the 5th chapter, so I played a fair chunk more, and when the enemy started to be reskinned for the 3rd time but doing the same attacks, it's like you've lost all your charm. I'm not had the same problems with it as you've had. Like, I actually quite enjoy the combat. It's way too one-dimensional eventually. After a while, you're just doing the same things over and over again. And I actually got into a rhythm where I wasn't finding it that hard. I was just basically smashing everything up. Just because if you keep your distance, and I knew all the attacks by this point, keep your distance, wait for the attack to finish, and then just counter, you can just smash everything up. And occasionally it'll fuck you, but I wasn't really struggling at all. I was just plodding through it, and it got to a point where I did die unfairly, and then it kicked me back like way before a cutscene, and I was like, do you know what am I doing? Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was it. I knew I'd never get to the end. I got about halfway through. That'll do. I still don't. I think like 4. That sounds about right.
I'd go for the 2 all day. But it
never really fucked me over though. It never did one of those things like it did to you with the.
That's all that it's. Yeah, that's all that it's done to me. It's
all my deaths, bar the occasional one-off, were fair, just hard.
Okay, I wish I played it. I wish I played your game rather than mine. Okay, well, my number 4 is on your list as well. I think Stick It to the Man on the PlayStation 3.
It is, yeah, it is. On my list. Sorry, my list just disappeared, so it's coming back. It is, it's next on my list. It's okay, my number 4 as well.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, my review of it actually went up on Eurogamer this week, which was cool. It's a really, I'll explain it again in case you missed it last time. It's a combination of a 2D platformer and this kind of classic point-and-click adventure in the LucasArts Tim Schafer mold. But the hook is the guy that you play called Ray. He gets hit on the head with some sort of foreign device at the beginning. He's a hard hat tester anyway. Takes his hat off, gets hit in the head of the thing, wakes up in hospital with a giant pink spaghetti hand growing out of his head. This can do 2 things. First thing it can do, it can grab pushpins in the world. Why are there pushpins in the world? Because everything's made out of paper. Why? Don't know. Doesn't explain it. Second thing the hand can do is reach into people's minds and read their minds. That's the best thing about the hand. All of this is voiced, all of it's very well written, all of it's funny, and the game then asks you to solve classic point-and-click type verb puzzles by interacting with the characters, getting quite often when you read their minds, something they've been thinking about will appear above them as a sticker. You can use those stickers on other characters to to solve puzzles, and then it all comes together over the space of one level, and everything kind of rolls together, and then you solve it. It's in the classic adventure game point and click style. I really liked it. It's very genuinely funny, very clever. I love the writing. It's kind of introspective. A lot of stuff about psychotherapy and this stuff where you're literally walking through your own mind, and all done in a kind of sarcastic. It's written by the guy who writes the Adventure Time comics, and it's similar. I said it's like that, but without the sugar rush, just the same kind of daft sarcasm as that show, and. Yeah, I mean, it could have been a classic, I think, but my only problem with it, there are sections, every level's a kind of panoramic platform section, I guess you could call it, where you have a map of the area, but you move from left to right, and you can go anywhere within that level at any time. But sections are blocked off because you're being chased by these agents, these big lunking agents, and it will turn into these kind of platform sections where you have to evade them, basically, and quite often that involves sort of letting them see you. They run underneath, you jump over the platform above, and then another one will see you and you kind of escape below. Those are basically a nightmare. There are things that you can read the agents' minds, and occasionally send them to sleep or slap your own face onto another agent, and they think you're him. Well, that's not funny and it's clever, but eventually I spent ages just dying on those sections over and over again as they get harder towards the end of the game. And it's just every time one turned up, which was too much, just dreading it. I understand why they had to put some threat into the game, so it wasn't, because otherwise it would just be really easy. It's much easier than traditional point and clicks because it cuts down all those games. You could click on everything and try everything, whereas this cuts that down, rightly so. But yeah, they just... The whole agents thing just got way too irritating way too quickly. They didn't have enough ideas involved in it, and it eventually just kind of was to the game's detriment. But I still think it's it's a real kind of potentially cult classic, I'd say.
Yeah, I saw your review and it got 7, and there were some people in the comments saying, "Oh yeah, you know, 7's a good score," and that's the kind of number I'd throw at it as well. But at the same time, there are going to be people who might, it's going to be a 9 for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think one of the best things about it is that the first sort of half of it is satisfyingly easy. The puzzles, like kids could play this comfortably, because the way the puzzles work is that you kind of solve them all at once, and that's not unpleasant. It's kind of like dominoes falling, because once you find one thing and then you bang, 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 and all the puzzles are solved in one go. But it is pleasurable. It's just not particularly taxing, but that's fine. I mean, I think it's a very clever way to make it quite accessible. I think the Adventure Time, obviously there's a connection, but I felt the same way about the humour as I do about the humour in Adventure Time, which is that it's split down the middle 50-50 between me finding it really, really, really amusing and finding it quite annoying.
Right.
And I think that came through. I mean, when you were reading people's minds, some of the stuff you heard, I mean, I was laughing aloud. And so that it's a shame that it's not 100%, obviously, but it never could be. But that is so much more valuable than most games, even humorous games, where it's 100% like vaguely amusing. It's completely linear, invisible walls everywhere and stuff. But it is all about the style and the humour. Yeah. And I think if you're tuned into it, you will think very, very highly of it. I enjoyed it. I mean, it's a fucking fun game.
Yeah, there's something about it which is just not grabbing people, though, which is strange, because nobody's really talking about it. It's been reviewed very well. I mean, it got about 9.5, I think, on Destructoid, and it's got some really great scores. I still think 7 from me is a good score, but I think I checked the review today, and it had like 13 comments on it or something, which is pretty low for anything on Eurogamer. So it's just not, I don't know, people just, something about it. I don't know what it is. Like, I think I started my review saying that this looks like something that you've done a million times before, but trust me, it really isn't. But, what can you do?
Yeah.
But I would recommend it.
I'd recommend it too. I think maybe it's just the time of year.
It's a terrible time for it to come out.
And also, I do think that a lot of exclusive PlayStation stuff is now going to be possibly viewed. If it's not like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, people are just going to think it will be on PS Plus at some point.
Yeah, there's that
that's
as well.
one of the downsides of that service, I think. But I like the way it's bite-sized. I've played on PS3, but it's kind of split into very, very palatable bite-sized chunks, so it'll work on the Vita as well. And the trophies are really nice. You go and do other stuff. It's completely unrelated to the story. It's just like a checklist of other stuff if you want to have fun in the game. So yeah, I recommend it. I think if you like the look of it, it's a very real chance you'll absolutely love it.
Some great characters in it as well. Just
Yes.
yeah, some cracking characters. There's a level in an insane asylum, which is just the whole level is just fantastic. It's brilliant.
Yeah, there are genuine laughs in it. I liked it.
Yeah, good stuff. I hope somebody gets it anyways. I think it's a tenner, so yeah, it probably will end up on PS Plus. To be fair.
Yeah, that's true.
So how's this working now? I'm confused on numbers.
That was my 4.
That was also my 4. So whose turn is it now? Yours.
What was your 5?
5 was Knack.
Okay, all right. Okay. Right, okay.
I'm going to sneeze. Hold on. You should keep this in.
Why would anyone want to hear this?
Just for a second, because it's funny.
Right.
We're just trying to see how much we try to hold it together.
Fucking hell. Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. My number 3 is Peggle 2 on the Xbox One.
Ah.
Currently an exclusive, but it's due to arrive on other formats at some point. I'm not sure when. You've played the original, I assume.
Of course.
A fan?
Yeah, a lot of fun. Didn't
Yeah.
get obsessed with it or anything, but a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is more of the same. If you're hoping for innovation, there is none. But it's more of the same, and that's fine with me. The one thing I'll say about it is that it takes the concept of gratifying presentation to stratospheric levels. I've never seen a game go to the extent to try and make you feel like you've achieved something as this. When you finish a round of Peggle, rainbows and fireworks explode all over the screen, and there's they play music like "Ode to Joy" by Beethoven. Apparently, I thought it was just my friends. Apparently, everybody now refers to that as the Die Hard music. And in the Hall of the Mountain King,
Well, Ode to Joy was in the original, wasn't it?
So was it, and I think that in the Hall of the Mountain King was as well. But the final crescendos of those two pieces of music are almost violent. Particularly in the Hall of the Mountain King, throw that piece of music in a ring with like some hard house or like a really, really aggressive piece of dubstep. It'll win every time. That piece of music could have fucking anybody in a row, and it's aggressive pieces of music. And then your cannon fires loud bullets, just invisible, just for the sake of it, and numbers go up. And then in the first set of levels, the unicorn starts headbanging by the side, and it's just like. It wants to jump out of the screen and shake you by the shoulders and just go, "You're the greatest person that's ever lived." And it's so, I just thought, if you've got a relative who's like got a gambling problem, don't put them anywhere near this game, or rather do, because they'll just keep trying to, you just take money off them and say, "Yeah, I'll give it to the makers. Don't you worry about that." The game's essentially identical. I mean, you've still got the Bjorn, the unicorn. He gives you a guide marker, and then there's this drunk troll called Jeff, and he just spouts. His dialogue is all nicked from Big Lebowski. He gives you this boulder to just trash stuff, which there was an equivalent in the first game. There's a ballet dancing yeti and a dead girl and stuff. But basically, it's exactly the same. It's still addictive. It looks really nice. The avatars on the side of the screen move now. The yeti bears his backside and Bjorn headbangs, as I said. It's really challenging as well because half of the game is made up of these rock hard trials. So if you're like a Peggle master and you're looking for a bit of challenge, there is that. Like I said, it's more of the same. The Peg Party multiplayer mode is still fun. It's still there. Apparently, there's more modes coming as free DLC. But yeah, it's pretty much a textbook example of how to do a sequel without building any new bridges to anything more exciting next time. It's more of the same, but it's slick as can be, and it's a hell of a lot of fun.
How much is it?
Tenner, I think.
Okay. Yeah,
I'll play that there's a lot of content there. I don't know how long it's exclusive to Xbox One, but it's very good.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll play that. But I heard that it's constantly recording videos of you. Like automatically recording videos of your.
I turned that off. I figured out when you said, "Can you turn it off?" Because I was talking about it on FIFA. Every time the goalie punches a ball away in FIFA, it records a clip. I was like, I've got to turn that off. So that's now permanently off unless I turn it on.
But apparently, on this, it just records all your last shots. The one where it slows down.
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah, I've told all of my friends to just turn that off, because as soon as you turn your Xbox, it's like, so-and-so recorded a clip, click, 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 click.
Oh,
It's
God,
like
yeah.
rubbish.
Oh, wait. Talking of FIFA, that's my number 3.
Right.
It's FIFA. I played a ton of this on Saturday after I came back from Rome, from seeing you. I was rather tired, so I just kind of sat in the lounge and played a hell of a lot of FIFA, which I haven't been able to sit in a room and just play video games all day for so long. I can't even remember years and years. Anyway, yeah, I had fun, but I struggled. It's definitely not as responsive as the current gen version. There are plenty of times where you press the button and things just don't happen at the same speeds they do in the current gen version, or last gen, or whatever the hell you want to call it. I'm still enjoying it because it is capable of conjuring moments that the previous FIFA wasn't. I mean, the current gen version isn't. Sorry, I'll say the Xbox 360 version isn't. But at the same time, I was finding it more frustrating. It was kind of reminding me of why I'd gone off FIFA, which is a shame. I don't know, it just wasn't, like, the matches weren't flowing and they in a way that felt natural. It's quite fast. It's a little bit too fast, I think. And I don't know, I was ending up just playing it for the sake of it, but never really I wasn't really getting anything out of it. And yeah, I'm not sure about it. It's not doing it for me in the same way that FIFA 14 on 360 was in the end online, and it's just making me want to play Pro Evo again. As nice as it does look, it was just, yeah, it's just like, I don't know, the tactical defending doesn't feel quite as tight as it does on the 360 version, and yeah, like I say, it's not quite as responsive, and there's plenty of I have so many examples of players facing the wrong direction and kind of sliding about the pitch a little bit. When it flows and when it clicks, it's bang on. Some of the replays, amazing. Some of the goals, the way it looks, the way the ball goes in, awesome. But I'm just not feeling it, which is a shame, because it's, you know, I really was enjoying that version on the 360 in the end online, and yeah, this is more like how I got fed up with FIFA, which is a shame because there's no next gen Pro Evo.
That's really weird, though, because I mean they've improved so much, especially about the lob through balls and the corners. I mean that's basically. You think they fucked things up in the course of fixing those things?
I think that they fucked things up in the course of including a load of new animations and some of the new physics system and stuff. I think that slowed down how responsive it is, and I think it just reminds me that all the goals I concede are the same. Most of the goals I score are the same. It's just not. Yeah, it's just not doing it for me. I mean, I don't know. It's, you know, I'm probably underselling it because I'll still play a lot of it, and I've still got a lot to play. But I felt for ages like I just had to relearn it. But then when I played match after match after match, and I was kind of yelling at the controller because, you know, you've got a snap second to do things sometimes. And what I loved about the 360 version is that there was no button lag online, and it was happening. And there's no button lag on this either online. It's because I'm doing the player change button. That's another thing. The player change is screwed. You've got a choice.
That's true.
You've got a choice between auto, having it change just in the air, or fully manual. Now, the reason I never play fully manual is because sometimes on crosses or scrambles, you need it to change before you can press it. You don't want to be fiddling trying to change player. You just need to be able to press it so you can clear it. And it was changing way too quickly on auto on this one, which it wasn't on the 360 version. So I'm constantly getting pulled out of position and defence. So I changed it to the one where it only changes in the air, but that wasn't really working properly. And the amount of goals I conceded by, I'm basically running after a player with my midfielder, then suddenly, without me realising, it's changed to my defender and he's running up the pitch away. I mean, the amount of goals I conceded like that, it was like I'd be smashing someone, couldn't finish, and then they'd get one break, that would happen, and then they'd score, and that was happening over and over and over again. And I was like, this doesn't feel like I'm playing a football match. This feels like I'm battling against the controls, and that's why I gave up before. I'm still going to play it because, you know, it's fucking there. It's so quick to get into a game online. I did actually play Pro Evo. I tried to get a game on Pro Evo, and, you know, I couldn't find anybody, and it was just taking so long. The fact that you can just switch it on, click, 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 boom, as long as it doesn't do that thing where it says the squad files don't match up or whatever, but as long as it doesn't do that, you can be from turning your PS4 on to in a game of FIFA and probably under 90 seconds, which is like about the amount of time it takes to pick your team before you even find a match on Pro Evo. But yeah, just I want to love it. There's things I love about it, but it's just pissing me off.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm playing a different version to you, although I imagine they're basically the same. I'm loving it. I've played it a lot of it this week, although I haven't put it on my list. What you really need to do is find someone to do co-op seasons with.
Well, yeah, I really do want to do that, yeah.
Because that's just, I mean, me and Jay had a couple of absolute screamers this week on the co-op seasons mode. That's the heart of the whole package. That's where that's the mode I'm going to be playing for the rest of the... until the next FIFA comes out, so you should get involved in that. But that's true about them training. That happens. I mean, it happens like once a match at the most, so it's hard for me to get too annoyed about it. But it is mental when, like, why would you change a player that's harassing the guy with the ball to be somewhere else? Mental. I mean, that is a break in the game, I think.
Yeah, it's so bad that I had to switch it, and I want to love it, man. Oh
well, try co-op seasons anyway.
Yeah, I need some PS4 friends. Come be my friend on PS4.
You ain't talking to me.
No. Anybody, just come be my friend on PS4. Fuck it, you can have 2,000 friends. It's Car Trouble, all one word. The reason why I have that terrible name, it's something Job says once in Arrested Development. It was also the episode that I watched the day I got my PS3 and thought it'd be hilarious to have that as my name. I regret it. I've made a huge mistake. I should have said that, but I'm too ill to have even thought to say that. Anyway.
Okay, all right, well, my number 2 is Super Mario 3D World on the Nintendo Wii U.
I want this video game.
Yeah, I was going to wait until Christmas, but I couldn't. Its brilliance is entirely predictable. It's the most... I mean, I was expecting one of the games of the year, and that's exactly what it is, almost immediately. Is it better than... Super Mario Galaxy 2? I don't know, because I think that's probably my favourite Mario game. But if who's I think possibly played every Mario game that's ever existed,
as in platform Mario game.
I don't know.
I suppose you played a lot of those fucking weird sports games as well, haven't you?
Yeah, and the RPG one I had a pop. I mean, I think I've played most of them. If I haven't, there's a couple missing, but. As someone who's played all of those Mario games, if I can get excited and be thrilled by this, I think everybody should. It's just a sign that everybody needs to play. It feels like a classic automatically. I mean, I don't really know what to say. I mean, if you've seen footage of it, you can see how incredibly, I mean, almost absurd it is. How, if you value relentless invention in your games, this is the game of the year because it's absurd. It's absurd how good it is. Yeah, I mean, one of my favourite levels came quite early, and it was basically a rhythm action level on a space station where you'll jump, the beats, the blocks disappear when the beat hits a certain note, and then you have to pick up this power up, and then you multiply your characters, so you're trying to keep multiple characters alive to hit certain switch. I mean, and that's one level, and then there's another something else. I mean, just non-stop, and this is what Nintendo do better than almost anybody else. It's laughable. It's laughable how good it is. I suppose the only thing that I would criticise about it is that it doesn't really utilise the Wii U gamepad. I mean, it's funny, we spoke last week, I think, about how Tearaway could not exist on any other platform, and that was part of what was brilliant about it. There's not much implementation on this. I mean, it could almost be a straight sequel to the 3DS version because you blow to move things that are operated by wind. You blow into the microphone on it. And there are a handful of brilliant perspective puzzles where the game will stop and it's like you're rotating this world, this sort of piece of scenery, and you try and find your way through it in a set amount of time. Those bits are superb, but they don't make up a gigantic part of the whole package. Multiplayer is fun, but it's still unfocused. I don't think they've nailed it. Some people have said that they've really finally got multiplayer right, and they haven't really. I've played quite a bit on multiplayer, and it's fun because every level is basically a points battle, and the winner always gets a crown. So you're running around with this little crown, which you can lose in the middle of a game, and then it's fun to have a mad scramble after it. But you have to help each other too, because the camera, how it chooses, you can run off in a certain direction, and the camera will follow you. Sometimes it won't follow you; it will follow the other person, and then you'll bounce back in one of those bubbles. It still doesn't. There's no real sort of set way to succeed if you're trying to sort of get one over on your co-op partners, because they frame it as a competitive game. sometimes you can run ahead and then the camera will go back to them and you'll bounce back into the boat. I don't know. It's not perfect. The best way it works best as a co-op game rather than not a competitive game, I should say. They should be able to switch it. You should be able to choose whether to be completely cooperative or to have the score attack version for sort of competitive stuff. But I think it works best as a co-op game. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. It's amazing. I mean, a lot of people on Twitter have been sort of saying, "Oh God, Knack sold more than this," and yeah, that's the more I think about it, the more it's depressing. I mean, you can be beaten into submission by the monotony of something like Knack, or you can be challenged by something that's so brilliantly designed it will take your breath away. It's a shame that kids are playing Knack when they could be playing Mario 3D World. It's absolutely unbridled joy. What were we expecting?
I was expecting exactly that. And I'm sure it will end up selling more than Knack overall.
I think overall, hopefully the stink of Knack will...
I don't think Knack's going to sell it anymore now. I think Knack's time's done.
Let's hope so. I don't like to wish bad fortune on anything, but I hate Knack so much. But it's just... And it looks amazing. It's got that great orchestral score that they always do. So a mix of stuff like that and kind of sort of jazzy riffs. I mean, it's just... It's so predictably brilliant.
I almost bought it today, and chose not to because I've got so much other stuff to play through at the moment, and I'll only end up playing none of it if I do that. But it's going to happen.
But obviously, don't let it go too long because then it'll end up getting sucked away into sort of. This is not a stopgap Mario. This is up there. This is as good as the 3DS Super Mario 3D Land, and. I don't think it's Galaxy 2, but it's a joke how good it is. It really is, and it looks so good.
Yeah.
And it feels nice. It's just a shame that cut-up's fun. I don't know.
My little fellow loves Mario as well, so that's always a good reason to play anything at the moment.
Just buy it.
I ain't got the dollar, but spent it all on meat liquor. That was nice though.
It was.
Right, my number 2 then is Guacamelee. We talked about it before. We've both been playing it. I played a bunch more. I was on the train this week, so had some good Vita time, which is good. And it is good. I think it's a grand piece of work. I really do. I think it's a cracking game. Sort of that has that Metroid / Castlevania. I guess how would you display it? A platform game where you get abilities and then you can explore, and then those abilities work in other places. I don't even know why I felt the need to explain that. But what I really like about it is everything's really technical in Guacamelee. You obviously this luchador and everything's this everything in this kind of Mexican style, but all Day of the Dead shit. Was it the Cinco de Mayo, the Dia de los Muertos or whatever? Anyway, so quickly you gain an ability where you can switch between the normal world and like the dead world, and that's stuff that we've seen before. Most of the time that just translates to enemies that you can't see in one world you can in the other, and platforms that you can't see in one world you can in the other. But the way they use that is fantastic. Like a lot of it is involving really tight technical wall jumping where you have to jump off walls, quickly switch out a platform, hit the other wall, quickly switch it back in to just hard, like properly hard. But every time you fuck up, it puts you. But it's not like Knack where it puts you back fucking halfway down the road and expects you to turn up again 3 hours later just to get kicked in the ass again. It puts you right next to it and goes, just keep trying. We've made it hard as piss, but don't worry about it. We're not going to stitch you over. That applies also to the combat, which is I talked about it before. You feel more like a tank than you do a live Bayonetta type. I mean, to be fair, there is like a parry move, which is in a roll, and you can do that in midair, and you can parry. You don't parry, you kind of dodge through everything, and sometimes it acts like a parry. But a lot of the time, you just start laying a beat down on something, grab it, chuck it into everything else, and then just get into this rhythm of just smashing everything really quickly. And I just like the style. I like the music. I just think it's a really, really good game. It owes a lot to the past, but has really tight modern sensibilities. And I could do without some of the like meme-heavy dialogue. It's a bit, it'll end up that'll read quite dated, I think, quite soon. And the humor doesn't. That side of the humor doesn't really do anything for me. The overall world, I find quite. It doesn't make me laugh, but I just like it. but the actual writing itself is not doing a great deal for me. But we're talking about the odd little speech bubble here and there. It's not something that actually matters at all. But overall, I think this is just another cracking game on PlayStation Vita, and I'm really, really enjoying it.
Yeah, for some reason, I mean, I for the first half an hour, I was not having any of it at all.
Really?
And then, as soon as you unlock the uppercut move, I was like, okay. And you were punching through barriers, and then you meet that chicken, and he teaches you a few moves, and then you're leaping through those portals and stuff. It was, I was really like, oh, this is a really, really well made game. I just don't know how many more times I can play Metroid style games like that. I mean, it felt very much like what was it the 2DS one? 2DS. I can't remember. It was one of the last 2D ones, Metroids, and it just felt too similar to it. I don't know how long I can sort of go through jump through those hoops, as well made as it is. And you're right. It was. I just found it completely unamusing, and the attempts at humour just rubbed me up the wrong way. Yeah, it's difficult. It's a really, really polished, clearly made with a lot of love. I mean, a superfluous story as well. All those speech bubbles, I was just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. Have people actually said that they find it offensive?
Oh, like in terms of it being stereotypes and things?
Yeah.
I'm sure they have, yeah.
Oh, okay. Because, I mean, there's like, you go up to someone goes, I need some tequila, and then some woman's like, oh, try my tacos. And I'm like, but, those are Mexican things, but it would be, it's very different. And, if all of the characters were like wife beaters or something, that would be something. But a thing that's celebrating a sort of culture, I mean, when you mentioned it, the people had kicked off, I just thought...
But people are kicking off about anything these days. You can see how they could easily choose to find it offensive. Yeah. But I can imagine if you gave it to a dude who was Mexican, he wouldn't be offended by it.
No, he wouldn't. I mean, it's like that iOS game I played with the English guy wearing a top hat, drinking tea, and always naked, and like loads of stereotypes. He's a stereotypical. He's like the dad from Mary Poppins. He's like so English in a very sort of cliche way.
Fuck that, mate. I ain't dealing with that.
Yeah, it's not offensive, though,
exactly.
is it?
Yeah, I'm mortified.
But yeah, I think this is purely down to me. I was looking at it and just thinking, this is so well made, so polished, and a wonderful, game to be free. But yes. I've done Metroid.
To be fair to it, as you play on though, you can just head towards the. I've always found Metroid's a lot more about like working out where you need to go and how you're going to get there, and once you've got the abilities. Whereas this is like as soon as you get somewhere and you're not too sure where to go, you hit the map, it has a big flashing thing tell you where to go, and you just go there. It's less. I'm finding it less exploration heavy than any of those types of games. It's more just structurally like that, and then it seems to be really nailing into really hardcore platforming, really hardcore combat as I've got towards the back end of it, and a bunch of like quite cool abilities as well.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm not going to delete it from my Vita. I will continue playing it. I mean, I like the way it looks as well. It kind of remember when Disney kind of went a little bit left field in the 90s, and they made like Pocahontas and Emperor's New Groove. Everything was kind of angular.
Yeah, like Hercules.
Yeah. So I mean, but I think that was like their least profitable period. So that's why they went back to sort of making everyone a bit more cherubic and stuff. But I quite like the way that animation looks. And it does. I mean, this is a quality game. I just something about like learn this. I mean, but the combat is really fun with you throwing those guys around.
I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's good. I am going to play it some more, but I just. Something about it just doesn't sit right with me. I think, like I said, I think it is just I've played too many games with that structure.
It does. Honestly, it gets better and better. It keeps ramping up.
Right, I'll go back to it.
But yeah, it's freebie, PS Plus.
True that.
Sweet. So that was my 2.
Okay. All right. Well, my number 1 is Gran Turismo 6 on the PlayStation 3. I played a hell of a lot of this week and last week, although I didn't mention it. It's a game that I admire a heck of a lot, but everything about it is business-like. My reaction to it is business-like. I want to, doff my cap and just say, yes, good job. And, everything about it's business. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's one of the few games. If somebody came up to me and said, I'm going to buy a PlayStation 3 just to play Gran Turismo, I have no doubt they'll get their money's worth out of that whole package. Yeah. Because there is that much content. I don't know, there aren't many games you can say that about. Because Gran Turismo has always been an Anorak's game. It's the content is what's important. So it seems ridiculous to me that there's God knows how many cars,
1,200
cars. Yeah, 1,200 exactly. That's it. But I mean, that's to a completely dedicated petrol head. That's really important. It does look really good. I mean, I was bouncing between this and Forza 5, and it still looks really good. There are some hefty loading times, but it runs at 1080p, a really sort of pretty faultless 60 frames per second. The loading times are a problem, but only when you're doing sort of smaller bits and pieces, but I'll get to that in a sec. The fact that there's over 100 tracks makes it a real difference in comparison to Forza, because Forza, almost immediately you're playing tracks you've already raced. It's like, come on. In this, that doesn't happen for a very long time. There's always new tracks to race on. Similarly, Forza is just relentless sunshine and dry tarmac, and there's rain, there's snow, there's like sand and gravel, and there's dusk and nighttime. So it's a world away from Forza, which is just that's fundamentally changes the game, especially the stuff that are set on mountainsides on the like gravel you have to contend with in like rally cars and stuff. When you're driving rally cars, those are like beats in the campaign to sort of difficulty spikes that you have to adapt to. But they're really, really good fun, those bits. I mean, Forza has never had any personality at all. It's almost made by a computer. I mean, even if I was to show this to someone and say, I could probably pass this off as a remake of a PS1 game, visuals aside, because there's still an acid jazz on the soundtrack. There's still monotonous beats and like synthesized guitar loops, and you're just like, is this 1998? What the hell? But that's the other thing. Say what you like about Forza's affiliation with the Top Gear people. At least that kind of brings it into this century, whereas this kind of feels like it's still stuck. I mean, they haven't progressed a great deal from where the first Gran Turismo was. I mean, the menus still look like colourful spreadsheets and stuff. It's just business-like. Like I said, it just feels like business. As in Forza, also, you get less cars for free during the campaign, and that seems like, again, a bit of a play for microtransactions, but I still feel the same way. I don't think they should be allowed just because they're taking advantage of people. I mean, what's his name? Yoshida said on Twitter that, the only reason these transactions are here is because, they're optional. They're to provide an alternative path to busy people. And so why are you penalising busy people? And if that's the case, why are you charging them the full asking price up front? It just seems like a weird system. It shouldn't be allowed. But I still feel the same way, and I said it about Forza. Part of the joy of these games is grinding through them and earning that stuff. So taking a shortcut to something They have it in all manner of games. That's sort of cutting some of the pleasure out of the game. But yeah, what's different from 5? The license tests are mandatory again. They always were. In 5, they weren't. And this is fine, but the license tests are like 30 seconds, if that, and the loading times in between each one can sometimes sort of rise above that. So you're spending a hell of a lot of time sitting in menus when you're doing the licenses. And with regards to the lack of personality, first, the coffee break missions, you start knocking cones over, standard shit. But then after a while, you're racing on the moon in a moon buggy. That's fun. I mean, it's, and the physics feel sort of. I mean, they've plotted an exact course that the real Apollo moon buggy takes over the moon. I mean, an absurd, but that's what they do. They take something, and but those bits are fun, and they're very slow, obviously. So it's a nice, slightly eccentric change of pace. The AI is still. They basically ignore the fact that you're on the track. They just ignore you until you try and sort of move up from third into second. Which case they finally start noticing. And the other thing that this still does, cars race off in the beginning, and you can be behind them the whole time. And then in the final lap, occasionally they'll just like start slowing down and letting you pass them.
It's weird, isn't it?
But it's been like that since.
I remember that from the first 2.
Exactly, it's like that. Again, it's like nothing has changed, and there's still no damage. The damage, like cars tonk into each other, making the same ridiculous sound effect, and there's no visible or hardly any visible damage at all. The menus still automatically default no matter what you're doing. Whenever you go to a menu, the first default option is retry. So when you finish a race, press X, you've just hit retry. You go straight back and you're just like, no, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go to X. But every time it's still on retry. There's a stockyard now, so if you've got loads of cars, you can just dump them in the stockyard rather than having to sort of manage them all in one go. It's a good way to sort of throw a load of cars in there in one go. So you can still favourite cars, but this is just another way to sort of micromanage. It's you can't. I mean, it's not the kind of game that I could ever fall in love with, but you have to admire how much work's gone into it, and how it looks nice, and there's an untold amount of content here.
It's just so weird that it came out the week after the PS4.
Yeah, that is a shame, and it's terribly undersold by all accounts, which is a shame because there's blood, sweat, and tears all over this at the same time as it being all business, and I just hope that they sort of inject it with a little something next time, because this whole laid back, this is It's so weird. Business-like is just the word I just keep coming up with. It's very much by the numbers, but that doesn't mean that it's bad. It's very, very good, just completely lacking in personality at the same time. But if you've been waiting for this for 3 years, it will deliver, there's no doubt.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, I tapped out on Gran Turismo a long time ago, but yeah, like you say, I definitely admire it.
Yeah,
I really like the first two. I mean, I played the fuck out of them, but they were really different then. And I didn't, that was before. I can't drive now, but that was when I was young enough that, the possibility of me driving in 8 months was still real. And then I just didn't. So all cars were exciting then, much more than they are now, to me anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was surprised how much I did like it. As somebody who doesn't drive and doesn't really love car games, it's just weird. It feels like a relic, even though it's brand new.
Yeah. It would have been a cool launch game.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's a weird one. Yeah. Okay, my number one then is an unusual one, and like you, is my number one because I had to review it. It's Blacklight Retribution on PlayStation 4, which is the free-to-play shooter. It's been out on PC for a little while. I put it on at first and it didn't look very good, and I was just running around and it was just so simple. The first map that I played on was probably the worst map of all of them, just like it's on some rooftops. It's just like really basic geometry. And it was kind of laggy and I was like, oh, yeah, this is crap. Then there was an update almost within, I sort of turned it off, and then when I turned it back on, it updated, and it seemed to sort all that stuff out. It was no longer laggy. It seemed to actually look quite a lot nicer. And then the more I played it, this is actually really good. I found it really, really fun. It is a very simple shooting game, online shooter, 16 players, Call of Duty modes. There's team deathmatch, there's kill confirmed, there's domination, there's, I think that might be it, or it doesn't matter. It's so basic that it's not even worth talking about. And yeah, it's just you run, you shoot, the buttons are the same. Like, it is just them doing a Call of Duty game that doesn't cost any money. But the more you play it, and if you played a fair amount of these types of games, as so many people have, you start to appreciate some of the things that they've done. The major thing is that there's no radar. Instead, there's a button that you can press which switches on a Arkham style, like detective mode briefly, so you can see everybody in the level through the walls. While you're in that mode, you can't shoot, you can't run, you can't jump. So you tend to just switch it on for a second, then turn it back off, and then it's on a cooldown, but it's quite quick. And that is a genius move because it completely eliminates camping. You can't camp because you can be seen crouching in a corner easily. So you just can't camp. So the thing that always killed me about Team Deathmatch or any of those types of modes on COD was someone sitting in a corner, claymores around them, just shooting you in the back. I mean, that's not going to say you're not going to get shot in the back sometimes. It's an online shooter, but that just isn't happening. And yeah, for some reason, I was quite good at this game. I was pretty good, actually. I'm pretty bad at these types of games, generally speaking. Like, if you put me in a match with people who don't play these types of games, obviously I'd absolutely destroy them. But these are games where the skill ceiling is high and the experience level of most of the people who've been playing them is high. So they can be tough. I can't imagine what it must be like for someone who's literally never played a game like this to walk into a game of Call of Duty. Can't even imagine. Anyway, Blacklight, for some reason, I'm hitting like 8 kill, 10 kill streaks, smashing through people, and it's strange. Everybody starts with a kind of basic assault rifle loadout package, and if you want to grind your way to get more, you'll be there forever. So it's free, right? But the assault rifle you get at the beginning, it can take someone down in a couple of bullets. There's barely any recoil. It can fire all the way across the map. If you can see dots over the other side of the map, you can headshot them from over there. It's a cracking weapon, and it does the job. And even when I was coming up against people who were like level 15 and they did have other weapons, I'm still taking them out. It doesn't feel like you're at a disadvantage. And yeah, the more I played it, the more I enjoyed it. And other systems started to come in, like you can see your sprint, your health, and your ammo all around the main reticle in the middle of the screen. And it's only a small thing, but it makes it's nice. You don't have to be looking down to the left or right to see where you are. You constantly know where you are with your ammo. You constantly know that you're about to run out of sprint or whatever. A nice little touch that I've not seen before. And it does have some other ideas of its own, like you earn, as you're playing, you earn something called CP, but it's like a per match currency, and then you can go back to the depot, which is in your spawn point, and trade that in. It might be for like a health thing to get your health back, all the way up to like a mech robot that you can get. But even they don't really dominate the match, so you kind of just go around and get a few kills, and then that's about that. And like the hacking's different for domination. Instead of just standing on the flag or whatever, you have to like hack a terminal. It's kind of an unusual system. Basically, a number will come up in the middle. You go into a funny little mini game. A number will appear in the middle, like 48, and then on the left and right of that, you've got 12 and 48, and you have to hit left or right on the D-pad to match the numbers, and you have to do that 4 times in a row. And if you try and do it quickly, you inevitably fuck it up and have to start again. It's just a nice little way of having a different thing to just standing there like every other game does. And I don't really have a bad word to say about it. Like, yeah, the frame rate's a bit sketchy. Yeah, I mean, it's not as good as some of the other games, technically speaking. There's not a lot of variety, and the grind would be ludicrous if you really fancy doing it. But, you know, you can go and pay. If you want to buy a new gun, you can go and put some money down, buy some of their currency. That's how they're supporting this game. And one of the things I hate about microtransactions and free-to-play is when they're yelling at you, when it's informing the design of the game in a detrimental way, when you feel like you're getting lied to. I think that's the crucial thing. When you feel like you're getting lied to. I haven't played Forza, but I'm getting the impression from other people that they feel like their game that they've played 4 versions of, this 5th version, they're being lied to, and that, you know, the reason that I can't get this car is not because of good gameplay decisions, is because you want more money out of me. Whereas in this game, it never felt like that. And I must say the same for Warframe last week. Neither of them are yelling. These are games that seem, you know, they have a lot of experience in the free-to-play space, and they seem, you know, I know they both have audiences on PC, and they're making money, and they're doing it right. And there was a point where, you know, I was really having fun and playing a lot of matches, and I thought, you know what, you know, I might drop a little bit of money on this. Turns out the store wasn't actually working. So I didn't, but I was certainly intrigued to see how much everything costs. And they do another thing where you can actually rent items, and you can easily afford them with the currency you earn in-game that costs no real money, and you can rent stuff. So say there's a new gun or a new attachment you want to try, you can rent it for a day using stuff that you'll earn in probably 7 or 8 games, you know, not a crazy amount of games. And then you've got it for a day, so you can see whether it's going to be worth spending a few quid on if you want to. And yeah, there are items that cost 75 quid. I mean, I don't know who the fuck's going to pay for that, but I've always been of the mind that if you're stupid enough, or, you know, unless you're a kid with your fucking parents' credit card, if you're prepared, you make your own decisions in life. You know, I'm a firm believer of that generally in life. So that's just the way my mind works. I'm not saying everyone else has to think like that, and if other people I don't know, that's just the way my mind works. So, you know, that stuff doesn't offend me at all, especially in a game that is free. And it's more egregious in a game that isn't free, but I still think, you know, I know you're like, you don't think it should be allowed, but I personally, I do. I just find it ugly. But it's kind of 2 sides of the same coin, or some other clever turn of phrase I can't even think of. But anyway,
go on.
What were you going to say, sir?
Well, I was just going to say, microtransactions in games, I don't have anything against when they are free to play, because obviously they have to make some kind of money from it. It's microtransaction in a paid game. I don't think there's any way you can spin that to make it acceptable.
I do agree that it's not acceptable. I just don't think it should be banned or not allowed, because I just feel you should allow people to be as stupid as they want. But that's like a kind of a completely different conversation, to be honest, because I basically do agree with you. It's just that's like a different conversation. But this game doesn't feel offensive in any way. It's just a really, really fun shooter. I was just, the more I played it, the more impressed I was. And I was like, yeah, this is really good fun. I mean, it's like, don't get me wrong, the review ended up with a 7 on it. It's not a classic. But for free, if you've got your PS4 and you've got, say, FIFA and Knack or whatever, you know, Need for Speed or something like that, and you fancy a bit of online shooting, but you don't want to lay down 50 quid for Ghost, you don't want to lay down 50 quid for Battlefield, and, you know, definitely don't do that right now. This is perfect, free, it gives you what you need, and then you can go back to the games that, if you're like me, and those games are more of a side distraction than something that you're going to spend all your gaming time doing, then this is perfect.
Are you going to play it again?
Yeah. That's going to sit on my hard drive. Because I can fucking win. That's why I'll come on top of the leaderboards. That never happens. The only other games that's ever happened on are Call of Duty Black Ops 1, which I played a ton of, and Halo Reach, which I played a fair bit of as well. For some reason, I was quite good at those ones.
Well,
and Bad Company 2, sorry.
Next time you go on, just text me and I'll come on.
Have you got it?
Well, I mean, I can have it. It's
Yes.
free. So I'll just download it. But let me know and I'll download it. Easy.
I mean, the auto-aim's really... It's quite heavy, which is probably why I'm quite good at it. But then again, it's the same for everybody. I don't know what it is. Honestly, I think it's the fact that you can't camp, and I am no good at reading those radars. I can't read maps. I've got something wrong with my brain. It's broken somehow. I can't translate little red triangles into... I look at them and I go, right, he's just around the corner. I'm dead. But you give me a button where I can see through the walls for a second, and I go, right, that dude is there. He's moving in that direction. I'm going to cut him off. Because it's literal. My brain's broken. But that works for my brain. And I think that's why I ended up being good at it. But yeah, it's fun.
Well, let me know next
I may have
time.
oversold it ever so slightly in this impassioned speech, but I was more pleasantly surprised by it, and the fact it's free and doesn't yell at you, asking you for money. It's just like, look, there's this stuff here. I've made a bunch of sandwiches. Have a sandwich. Give us some money if you want it, but don't worry. You're more than welcome to come and play in this park. Fuck, that's what I'm talking about.
Is it sandwiches or is it a park?
In my mind, you come to a nice park and there's a guy selling sandwiches, but you don't need to buy one if you want to just kick a ball around.
Yeah, but why does he have the right to where you go?
Oh, it's his park, it's his garden.
All right. Okay, well, on that bombshell, thank you very much for listening. We'll be back. We're basically going to... Next week, we're going to do the top 10 most underrated games of the year like we did last year. And then the week after that, we're going to do the 20 games of the year. We're doing it the other way around this time, but that's the way we're going to do it. So that's what's happening next week and the week after. But thank you very much for listening. Recommend us some games on Twitter, etc. If you haven't left us an iTunes review, we'd really appreciate that, because iTunes is fucked and it's the only way we can get any visibility on there at all. Facebook, don't bother. But yeah, thank you very much for listening.
I just wanted to give one message at the end. This is going to come out all wrong because my head feels like the back end of a spoon. But David Turner's and Joypod ended this week. They did their last ever show. They've been around for 8 years, and they are basically like the almost the original UK video game podcast. It's probably true, but certainly like the longest standing one. Their influence is much wider than a lot of people might think. And David himself has been, a vocal supporter of this podcast. We didn't know him beforehand, and massive thanks to him. It's a real shame that the podcast ended. It was, a fantastic podcast, and it certainly affected a lot of people. They talk about it on that episode. So yeah, just wanted to give a shout out to all those guys, and looking forward to what everybody does next. I know obviously Sean's doing Midnight Resistance, and all the different people are involved in the different projects. But yeah, just wanted to give them a shout for. Partly because of support, but partly, just because great guys doing a great thing. They worked in it was like 20 odd days of free content that they've done over the years or something, and that's madness. So yeah, just wanted to give them a shout out. That didn't come out quite as well as I wanted it to, but that was off the cuff, and my brain's basically falling.
That's totally. No, I meant to say something and I completely forgot. So yeah, definitely. We probably wouldn't be where we are if it wasn't for Dave whoring himself out on Twitter every day saying how much he enjoyed the podcast. Because
definitely, there's no doubt about that. It's 100% true.
And if you haven't listened to it before, all of the episodes are still. I think most of them are on iTunes.
Yeah. So you need to listen to the ones edited by Adam Capone.
Yeah.
They're just genius. Adam Capone is Peter Molyneux, but yeah, they don't shout about that much. But he's anyway. Stop talking, John. It's over.
Hopefully, one day he'll edit one of our shows. But yes, thank you very much for listening. Hopefully, see you next week. Are you going to say bye? Hello, this is after the music bit. Basically, I'll cut this long story short because John and I are going to go and be ill. What have I got to say?
Well, you've made it way longer than anybody else could have. We've got three. I think it's three. I'm pretty sure it's three codes, Steam codes for Velocity Ultra, which has just come out on Steam. They were kind enough to give them to us. Well, if you want one, and you should do, because if you listen to this podcast, you should know how fucking good this game is. But you haven't got PlayStation, whatever reason. Just tweet us with something stupid, something just something fucking stupid, and the first three will get one.
To the @Chet and John's account
to
on
the
Twitter.
Chet and John's Twitter. I thought that came out too good. I knew I fucked up somewhere.
Just say something fucking stupid, and you'll get a gleaming game.
Yeah, and it really is. I mean, all-time classic.
Get it done. See you later.
Laters.